So I had 3 bottles of sake last night, and I played Doki Doki Literature for 6 hours with viewers last night. I don't have a hangover, but I am still effed up from Doki Doki. Welcome, friends, Lost Scarf here, and it's time for the vlog. We're going to talk about channel stuff, Doki Doki, StarCraft 2, Visceral, Runic, about EA a little bit, about Perfect World a little bit, and if we get time for philosophical stuff, I want to talk about nihilism and examples. So, let's go. First up, Doki Doki Literature. It will F you up. I do not suggest playing that. It's a free-to-play. It is November. Not happy playing that game. I hate my viewers right now. That full LP is going to go on the Scarf Plays channel. So if you don't know, we have 2 channels. There's the YouTube, well, they're both YouTube, but there's the main one, which is what you see on this channel, and then there's Scarf Plays. Scarf Plays is going to be everything that doesn't go on the main channel that we recorded. So Mario Rabbids is on there. Mario Odyssey is going to be on there because we don't want to deal with Nintendo going after the main channel. XCOM 2 streams are going to go on there. And now Doki Doki Literature is going to be on there. And anything else we do will be over there. Probably going to have Hand of Fate over there because I want to do Hand of Fate before 2 comes out. So if you're interested in seeing the stream stuff recorded in a better quality than Twitch, you go over to Scarf Plays. And then, of course, YouTube is the main stuff, and then you can always look at Twitch if you want as well. But I've noticed that we recorded a better quality than Twitch streams up, so there you go with that. Because we have 1080p, while Twitch is doing 720. So it's up to you if that's what you want. Besides that, Wolfenstein 2 on the main channel, Destiny 2 on the main channel. There'll probably be Destiny 2 on the side channel when we're done with the story of Destiny 2, because I really do like this game. Life is Strange Episode 2, that's still going. It should end up soon. There will be a new concept coming out called Bountiful Research. Bountiful Research is going to be Scarf looking at boob games and seeing if they're more than just boob games. The first episode is going to be something ridiculous. Oh my god. Like, I think I talked about this before, actually. No, I didn't. I talked about it in it. Senran Kagura is a very boobish game. Extremely booby, but it does have gameplay in there that's actually kind of fun. So, if we went in with Senran Kagura, it'd be like, okay, a lot of boobs. Holy crap, a lot of boobs. But there is some gameplay to it. The game that we did for the first Bountiful Research, oh my god, you'll see. You will see. That's it for the main channel. Oh, there's going to be a Stranger Things 2, like, review and spoiler talk at some point this week. Podcast will happen next week, finally. We'll finally get back to it. Things have just been crazy, and of course, my throat hasn't been perfect yet either. Plans for this weekend, I need to finish Phoenix Wright, so I'll do it today or Sunday. If I do it today, it'll be done before this video comes out. I want to do a Hand of Fate marathon as well, because the second game comes out on the 7th, so I really want to do Hand of Fate. And then there's all the other stuff like Wolfenstein, Destiny, XCOM 2. There's a lot of streaming to do and recording to do, so it's going to be a busy weekend for dang sure. Oh, 2 quick announcements. One is, it's not about, if you're a fan of Crunchyroll, they've been hacked. Do not go to Crunchyroll. Oh my god, it's scary over there right now. Don't touch Crunchyroll. The other one is StarCraft 2. Wings of Liberty is going to be free, so you can play the single player of Wings of Liberty for free. So that's pretty cool, because I like that game. And you can also do the multiplayer as well, so that's pretty awesome. Just a quick thing on that. If you own Wings of Liberty, they'll give you Heart of the Swarm for free. If you own everything, I guess we don't get anything. That's my understanding. I'd like it if I got some of the co-op characters, because I really like playing the co-op game. Me and Jinx have spent 100 hours on the co-op game. It's really fun. Now, I haven't talked about this, so I gotta talk about it really quick, is because it feeds into what's more recent. Visceral Shutdown feeds into the Runic Shutdown and the Motiga Shutdown. Visceral was originally Red Hill's EA. Visceral has always been an EA company. Keep that in mind. EA shuts them down because they want more service games. They want to be able to do loot boxes, and they want to be able to make money off you infinitely instead of just a single-player game. That's why they shut down Visceral. And that really sucks, because Visceral had some pretty good stuff. I actually like some of their older stuff. I did mention this before. I like some of their older stuff. I like the Lord of the Rings games. Dead Space was a huge thing. Dead Space 3, of course, was this very painful thing of their vision, mashed up by what EA wanted with the loot boxes and everything. Well, not loot boxes, but what the services they wanted to do. And they were going to make this single-player Star Wars thing, and now it's not going to happen, most likely. And that really sucks, because they want to do service. It created that whole debate of is single player dead and it is to the bigger companies, it looks like. The bigger companies want to monetize all of their games. That's what they want to do. EA is going to do that. EA has done that, and they've been really scummy in a lot of ways. WB is trying to do the same thing by what they did with Shadow of War. And you saw how painful that was, just having single player with microtransactions. Really frustrating to see that. Some people accepted it, other people are fighting it. Inevitably, WB is going to do this to all their games. Inevitably, EA is going to do this to all their games. So the big games are going to have all these ways of trying to get more money out of you through microtransactions while being a service. And so to the big companies, for them, single player is dead. Or unless they can find a way to get money out of you through single player, it's dead. They want service. Somehow this became a bigger debate about, is single player in general dead? And obviously it's not, because you have Breath of the Wild, Super Mario Odyssey. Those alone are selling a lot of money, have made a lot of money. Obviously Breath of the Wild, all the sales are done now, but Mario Odyssey's making all the money right now. You of course have Nier. You have a lot of other games I can't think of right off the top of my head, but they are single player. Oh my god. Persona 5. Like, there's a lot of really good games out there that'll single player. That flies in the face of that thought. And I don't know, sometimes people hear keywords and then they just run with it. That's what happens. So Runic and Motiga. Talk about Motiga really quick. It sucks about Motiga. The way they handled Gigantic, it just didn't work out. I completely forgot about Motiga. I completely forgot about Gigantic for years. I was like, oh hey, they're here. They're finally coming out, okay. And I played it. I really liked the game. I really, really like Gigantic, just don't have the time to play it. I wish it was successful, because it's really fun, it's really great. And it's too bad, because you think there would be room for something like Gigantic. There's so many players out there, there's so many options to play, so many free-to-plays to do, but everyone's playing like League and Dota and such. And so these other games that are ambitious just don't work out. And it's very unfortunate, because Gigantic is a very fun game, it's got really good polish to it. And it's too bad. It really is too bad. What's going to happen with Motiga, if you don't know, is they laid off a crap ton of people. They're going to have a small team to maintain Gigantic, to keep the game going. But as far as developing new stuff, I have no idea what's going to happen. Maybe they'll still develop new stuff. It's just going to be with a very smaller team, so it's going to take longer to happen. Who knows? Right now, there are only 300 concurrent players in Gigantic, unfortunately. When it hit the max, it was about 1,000 or so. It has had 1.3 million downloads off Steam. Anywhere else, I do not know. Steam's the easiest one to metric. Everywhere else, it's kind of harder to get the numbers. But that's what Gigantic has had through Steam, at least. Because Steam is the big way to get really pushed out. Now, Runic. And Runic and Gigantic and Motiga led to this other conversation about, is the game industry is sustainable? So I want to talk about that, but let's go through Runic. Runic comes out with Torchlight. Torchlight is not bad, has some flaws to it, but I really, really, really like the game. As a total, it sold about 1.5 million. I don't know how many it sold initially, but it was enough for them to keep going and do Torchlight 2. Obviously, there's a lot of sales and stuff like that. Torchlight 2 was a different story. Torchlight 2 exploded. It sold over 2 million copies, and that is mostly full price with some sales stuff here and there, and that's really good. Now, over the years, we're at 3.6 million copies sold for Torchlight 2, and a lot of those are probably more sale-based. Later down the line, that's still a lot of copies. That is a lot of money going over to Runic. Now, here's the thing. They were burnt out. They did not want to make Torchlight 3. They made Hob. Hob, however, only sold about 50,000 copies, and there's only about 100 or so concurrent players right now. Torchlight 2 still has thousands. Still has a lot of people playing the game right now, so good for that. But yeah, Hob just did not make the money, and I don't know how they thought it would. Hob is a new IP. It was a very boring-looking game. It has interesting bits here and there, but it's actually playing it is really boring. It is not a very good game. People really like it, but it's not without flaws, and this was not going to keep them going. I don't know how many sales they needed to keep going, but if they wanted to do something like Hob, they needed to do it a lot sooner after Torchlight 2 when they had the money, so that if Hob failed, they could get into Torchlight 3. But since it's been so long and Hob was their next big thing, they did poorly on the sales and the plug got pulled on them. Perfect World owns Motiga and Runic. They did a bunch of big layoffs on Motiga, and they killed Runic. And Perfect World has done the same statement. They want to focus on online service games. They don't want to focus on single player games. So that's why they cut Runic. And that makes sense to them because Perfect World has always been like MMOs and all these other things. It was a crazy thing to me back in the day when I saw Perfect World with Torchlight. I'm like, this is a single player game. Why does Perfect World have a single player game? That's really weird. I always thought that was odd. But it worked out for them, especially when 2 came around. But that was also multiplayer. But Perfect World has always been a multiplayer thing. They've done so many MMOs. I've played a lot of their MMOs. They're all the same damn game at the end of the day. But Perfect World is majorly an MMO company. They've always been a service. But they had the single player here with Torchlight. I don't know any others I can think of right now. But Torchlight was the big exception from what I could tell. And now they're like, well, we're just going to focus on service. And so it hits back to the visceral conversation with EA. And it just hits this argument, which isn't just people, it's also developers talking about it, that the feeling that game industry is not sustainable. And you have people getting scared saying, maybe we'll have another crash like the 1990s and things like that. It's like, there's a lot to unpack there. One is we will not have another crash like the 1990s because game industry is too big for that. Also, that crash was more through stock speculation, not through developers leaving gaming. Because the feeling is there's a lot of turnover. There's a lot of developers who quit game development and go into other things because of the crunch time, because they're treated by publishers, and also by developers if they're the smaller cogs, and things like that. And so there's also arguments of, should there be a union for developers and things like that? A union for developers of all the different things, like art and coders and all this stuff. So there's arguments of that. And on the big picture, in gaming industry obviously is sustainable, but what's going to happen is it feels like it's going to squeeze out the middle, though the middle's trying really hard to exist right now. And one big example of that, of course, is let's go. Heaven's Blade? What? No, Hellblade. Heaven's Blade. Hellblade. Heavens. Hellblade is an example of the middle trying to work out, and it worked out for at least this one company. And a couple others have worked out in the middle. But a lot of companies try to do this middle ground, indie AAA section in the middle, and they fail. Hellblade is one that succeeded, though. Hellblade is a middle ground there. Cuphead is another one as well. Cuphead was indie, but then they got picked up by Xbox. And there's somewhere in the middle there where if Cuphead did not succeed, those people are all pretty much done. Thankfully, Cuphead did succeed, did very well, good for them. But all these success stories are very much the exception. There are so many developers who have failed, and that's it, and they just quit and move on and do something else. Or some fail and just keep trying, and maybe the next game will do it, or the game after will do it. We've seen examples of that. Like, I follow a lot of developers on Twitter. Like, I look for as many developers as I can to follow and watch and read and everything. And it's great seeing their development, and it sucks seeing them when they fall down, and it's great seeing them when they get back up. But that is the big debate right now with developers and other people is the game industry sustainable? And the answer is, of course it is. The reason why it's sustainable is because there will always be people who want to be developers, and they will buy into what EA is selling, they'll buy into what WB is selling, or they'll start up their own indie. There are so many indies. If you look at Steam and the number of games that are coming out literally every single day, gaming is sustainable. It is sustainable on the consumer side of things. On the industry side, which is the part really, game industry in the whole sentence there, it might lose a lot of good talent, but there'll also be a lot of good talent as well, because there's just so many people going into this. It's still growing how many people want to develop games. And the platform to do it, and the fact that what is holding them back is just time, learning how to, like, time, skill sets, and of course the $100 on Steam to put the game on Steam. And then, of course, advertising. And there's so many things they need to do, but it feels a lot easier to pull these off in gaming than it does in movies or in TV or in animation or even in books. It just feels like it's easier to get your name out there in gaming, at least trying to, but we see so many games die every day that don't succeed, but it's just, there is a big ceiling to get through, but at the same time, it looks doable at the same time. So I feel like there's always going to be people making games, and there will always be some good games, but we're going to lose out on some good games as well, I am sure. Did I word that correctly? I think the reason why the industry is sustainable is because it has this gigantic flood of supply. There's a lot of demand as well, but there's so much supply that it can keep going. It really can. Especially as been proven by the fact that Shadow War is very successful. Battlefront 2 is going to be successful, at least the first couple months. We see success with, was it like FIFA every year? The sports games do work for EA. They make so much money every year on just the sports games that they can do these shenanigans with the non-sports games and find as much money as they can through that way. Is there more to say on? There's always more to say on it. I did some research to talk about all this. Sometimes I really wish we did essay format videos and we went to town on it. I wish we could just spend like a lot of time just reading up on every little detail on all these things. But this is just from what I have read for a while and from just developers and stuff I've read through Twitter and stuff like that. If I had time to just go deep dive for a day, that would be very interesting to do. But those are my thoughts based on what I have read up and found and thought about. And all of that in gaming stuff. Now, we have a little bit of time to talk about... There's two subjects I want to talk about, honestly. I want to talk about nihilism and examples. And I feel like... I want to talk about nihilism because I feel like people don't know what the hell nihilism is. And the thing about it is language is mutable. It keeps changing, but at the same time is... If you don't know what the hell you're talking about, you don't know what the hell you're talking about, and you're making up some different thing. The thing is... Nihilism, the popularity of nihilism has climbed up over the last couple of years. I talked about this a little bit before. And here is the definition of nihilism. It is, of course, philosophical doctrine that suggests the lack of belief in one or more reputable, meaningful aspects of life. Most commonly, nihilism is presented in the form of existential nihilism, which argues that life is without objective meaning, purpose, or intrinsic value. Moral nihilists assert that there is no inherent morality, that accepted moral values are abstractly contrived. Nihilism may also take epistemological, ontological, and metaphysical forms, meanings, respectively, that in some aspect knowledge is not possible or reality does not actually exist. So the idea is, like, the dumbed-down version is nothing really matters. That's the dumbed-down version of it. Nothing really matters because nothing is really real. And the meaning we give things is just the meaning we give things, and it's just all social constructs. The fact that we don't commit crimes normally is a social construct because that's the morality is like, why not? Because of, well, if you went back to, of course, the older times when we were just a bunch of tribes and everything, to take what we need, keep the tribe going and all that stuff. But nihilism is, there is no meaning to any of this, so we can do whatever the hell we want. That's the way it's taken really now. It's taken like, none of this crap really matters. You have people who take an depressing angle, you have people taking an optimistic angle, pessimistic angle, all these different angles. But at the end of the day, the idea is nothing really matters. Nothing matters, so what's the goddamn point? And it's really popular. It's getting very popular now, and my feelings on it is really popular because of the world we're in now. We're all connected through the internet, and we're constantly slapped in the face with just horrible news, and horrible news, and horrible news, and horrible people, and horrible people, and horrible people. Shitty situation, shitty situation, shitty situation. Politics are extremely divided right now. You're getting hit from all sides. You're getting bombarded by so many things. There is so much BS going on. You see examples of terrible things being done in religion. You see things being done in the name of patriotism, nationalism, racism. There are so many different things. It's just all a bunch of hate you're getting bombarded with. And it feels like nihilism is this release, this escape from all of that, because, like, well, what's the point of any of that? There's no point to any of that. That's what it feels like. And it feels like that's the cause of the rise of nihilism. What also helped with that is probably popularization through other medias. One being, of course, Rick and Morty. Rick and Morty is freaking huge, and a lot of people ascribe to Rick's nihilism and the way he does things. And of course, you have that whole meme about the subtle IQ and all that crap. But I just see so much of this whole nihilism stuff, and then people trying to turn around into being this other thing. The thing is about nihilism is nothing matters. There's no point to anything. That's it. That is what it is at the end of the day. And then people give things meaning. People be like, well, since nothing means anything, then it gives more meaning to what I actually do, these things that I do, these things that I consider, what I want to, like, since nothing means anything, by me doing this act here, it gives it meaning. And it's like, that's not what nihilism is. It is a completely different thing, completely. Like, it's this optimistic outlook that's very self-centered, very selfish, and it's not nihilism, it is a bastardization of nihilism. It's really weird. It's just really weird. But it's also what we do. It's also what we do as people, and we do with language is... Because irony... The example is irony. Irony does not mean what people think, has not meant what people think for like decades. But now irony, by definition, has what people think irony means because everyone's an idiot. And the same thing goes for nihilism, where by so many people misunderstanding nihilism and defining it incorrectly, nihilism will transform into this different thing. And so what I'm getting at here is an argument about how language is mutable and how much, sometimes it's very frustrating and annoying how mutable it is because it bastardizes what the word means. But it's also very interesting how language is mutable in that way, how it can be bastardized to something else, into a different thing that people will accept as the definition, despite the fact that is not the original definition. It is a very interesting thing. At the same time, I wanted to shed light on what nihilism is, because nobody knows what the hell nihilism is. They really don't. Nihilism is nothing matters, everything's pointless. To say that you doing things makes it matter, makes it have a point, is a very selfish idea and a very self-centered idea, and that's not what it is. That's not what the nihilism is. But, like, my thought process on how things are is, everything matters. Not everything has a point, but everything does matter. In some way, shape, or form, because everything's a domino effect of so many things. But, you can't really know how much you matter, how much everything matters. But everything matters, because everything is connected. Everything comes together in some way. And there's a lot of randomness to it, but there are some controlled points to it as well. Well, controlled by what we do, which does lead to more randomness as well, when you think about it. So this is getting very philosophical. Extremely philosophical. But I just want to shed light on nihilism, because, god damn it, nobody understands what nihilism means anymore. Because they just don't. They just don't. And you can disagree with my thoughts on the definition of nihilism as well, and maybe I am wrong, but through years of arguing about nihilism when I was in college, which has been a long time since college, but I remember arguing about nihilism and what was the point of nihilism and things like that, because I've always hated nihilism. And because my thought process is the opposite of nihilism. It is everything matters, everything, not necessarily everything has a point, because there's plenty of pointlessness to things, but everything does matter to me, in my opinion. I feel like it matters. It always does. Even if it's some really dumb, silly thing, it matters because it was a release, or it was just a fun thing, or something for someone. That's why I always feel everything matters. Every person matters, this and that. Now, really quick, very quickly, because we're going over 20 here, I want to talk about becoming an example. And I've said this maybe a little bit here and there, and that is, be the person you want someone else to be. Be the example you want to follow. That is a thought process I'm thinking about, and I keep wanting to push and talk about, because it applies to so many things. In friendship, if you want a friend who has your back, you want a friend that helps you when you're down, you want a friend who picks you up and stuff like that, you need to become that person. You should become that person. Like, if you want to have someone you can rely on, you need to be a reliable person. You don't want to, like, you can be whatever you want to be, of course, but I feel like the best mindset is, if you want this, you should be this. That's what I think. And it also applies to love. If you want someone who's faithful, if you want someone who you can trust, if you want someone who has your back, someone who will go through hell and back with you, you want all these things, you need to be that person right back to them. You need to be the person you feel you deserve. You need to be the person you want. That is how I feel about it. And of course, the other person may still betray you. They may still not be all those things you want. But you are the person that you want as well. And so, if they are not that person, if they are not, I don't want to say worthy, they're just not a match for you, because at the end of the day, I guess they just weren't so great. And you just have to try again, which is unfortunate. This is a thing that is very hard, and leading to a different thing. This thing is very hard, and that is the acceptance of failure. And this is very important. It gets hammered in, and the realization is how important it is, because at my job, holy crap, you must accept your mistakes and learn from them. Because if you do not, people will die in my job. Thousands of people will die if you do not learn from your mistakes in my job. And it can be less dramatic than that, of course, in actual things that aren't a job, of course, and that is learning from your mistakes instead of pig-headedly, stubbornly, or whatever. Keep going with the wrongness so that you can learn and be better. That's important. And so with failure, we're very scared of failure, and that's one example of failure where you're just doing something wrong, you're not willing to accept it, and it really sucks. The other fear of failure is you just don't want to lose ever. Personally, I don't ever want to lose another family. I've lost a lot of people in my life. I don't want to lose another person. I wish I could make everyone immortal. I can't, so it's going to suck when I'm older, but I wish I couldn't lose any more people I love and care about. But I'm going to lose them, and I have to live with it, and I have to accept that. I have to accept those kind of losses. That's another loss, another that's not a failure, but that's another loss you have to accept. And the thing is, like I said, we're scared. We run away from failure, we run away from loss. We don't want to deal with that. But we have to deal with that inevitably. That is life. But I feel like if we could accept failure and loss more and push and learn from it better, we could be better people, and we would not feel as much pain and hurt as we do. Another one is the fear of failure in the world of love, in dating. Everyone's scared of hitting on telling their crush they like them, and 9 out of 10, maybe they don't like you back. That's not going to work out well. But would you rather never take the shot? I've said this before in other vlogs. And this is the fear I have with dating, where, like Tinder. I'm going to look at Tinder in 2018, and I'm scared of going on there and seeing that nobody's interested. But if I don't try, that's never going to work out. I would not be best friends with Jinx if I never hit on her, like 10 years ago. I would not have had some of the great relationships I've had in my life if I did not flirt with or hit on certain girls. And I've had a lot of times in my life where I was just too scared to do it. I was too scared to hit on a girl, too scared to ask a girl out and stuff like that. And I have regrets on some of those. But I see all too often people who are, she's going to say no, so I'm not going to ask her out. Well, if you're so confident she's going to say no, then find someone you think will say yes then. Don't get stuck on something you think is going to be no. And if you're so confident they're going to say no, then just ask them out and find out for true. Like, find out for real. It's a scary prospect, and I'm not saying, like, if you're in high school and you still got to spend a bunch of years with this person or whatever, you either let that go or you ask them out and then go for something else to distract you, because unrequited love sucks actual balls. All of it. It does, really. Just don't deal with that. That's just a lot of heartache. I've seen that. I've had that. Forget that. Forget that. Move on or something. I don't know. This last bit has gone up a couple of places here. I want to be, like, I look up to, like I've said before, Jesse Cox, Total Biscuit. I look up to these guys. They're really great. Big fan of those guys. I love how entertaining Jesse Cox is. I love how knowledgeable TB is, how well he argues his stuff. I'm a big fan of Jim Sterling as well. Jim Sterling argues things very well. Don't always agree with TB and Jim Sterling and even Jesse Cox. But these guys are passionate, they care about what they do, and they argue their stuff very well. They're very knowledgeable. And so I see them as examples, and I try to be up to their level. But honestly, it's not just that level, but just whatever it is I want out of YouTube, whatever it is that I want it to be, I need to become what I want for that. I think I screwed up the metaphor there. The ultimate goal of this channel is to make people happy and sometimes be informative and be interesting and stuff like that. That's really what Smite was. Smite was entertaining and informative on Smite. That's what it was. And I keep wanting to find some way to get back to that, but not be Smite, in that we do these enjoyable videos, but also be informative and be interesting. And I don't know, maybe, I don't, like, right now we're swamped in LPs, and when we're not swamped in LPs, maybe we will look at essay format. Maybe we'll look at a news format. I don't know, but I just... The gaming world's huge. There's always something to talk about. And I don't know. I just like making people smile, but I also want people to be less ignorant on things. Like, I want them to be able to have good arguments or good discussions about topics in the gaming world or in life in general. Because sometimes I do have these philosophical things at the end of these things. At the end of the day, it is putting the thoughts out there and everything. And they're not perfect, obviously, and there's things about them that could be molded better. But it's through conversation things get molded better. It's through conversation you see the flaws, you see what's wrong with this and that, and things get better through that. There are times when I've done like the vlog like 5 or 6 times, and each new version is better than the last. I realize there were flaws in my arguments here and there and things, and just the next iteration is meant to always be better because you're learning from the previous one. And I am going way over here, so that is enough of the vlog. I had fun talking, hope you had fun watching and listening, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? Having fun. Thanks for coming by, and see you next time.